everyone, we're going to continue with the Pythagorean Theorem. This time we're going to look at different types of problems than last time. So it says state if the three side lengths form a right triangle. So what do we know about a right triangle? We know that we can use the Pythagorean Theorem to prove if we have a right triangle or not, because the Pythagorean theorem only works on right triangles. So we can put these measurements, these lengths, in the formula and see if it comes out true. If a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And therefore we can figure out if these are side lengths of a right triangle. So the first thing we're going to do is figure out which one is A, B, and C. And we know that C is the longest side, so the bigger number has to be C, which is going to be 15 here. Okay, so C is 15, and A and B are 9 and 12. Okay, so that's the largest number. We figure that out, and then A and B are just interchangeable, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and square each one, right? And see if the sum of the squares is equal to the square of the hypotenuse, which is 15. So 9 squared, right, plus 12 squared, is it equal, that's what you're asking yourself, is it equal to 15 squared? So I'll let you guys go ahead and solve that, and we'll be right back. Okay, so we solved this and we got yes as the answer. So these three side lengths are side lengths of a right triangle, because when we squared the legs and we added up, we got the same answer as when we squared the hypotenuse. I changed the color on C squared so you could see it comfortably. 81 plus 144 is 225, and 15 squared is 225. So yes, this is the side length of a right triangle. So let's go ahead and look at number 2. I'd like you guys to solve number 2 the same way and see what you get. Is this 4, 12, and 15 the side lengths formed by a right triangle or not? So use the Pythagorean theorem, and we'll be right back. And for this one, we get a no as an answer, because when you square 4, and you add it to the square of 12, it does not equal 15 squared. As you can see, you get 160 on the left and 225 on the right, and they're not the same. So it does not satisfy the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Therefore, since it does not, so this is not a right triangle. So no. Okay, then the next two questions are the same type of questions, except instead of giving you the numbers in order like this, we have the measurements of the right triangle with the actual triangle, but it's not a right triangle. Notice that these triangles don't have the little square on the corner indicating that it's a 90-degree angle. So you are going to figure out whether this is a right triangle or not. So if you don't have a square there, you don't know if it's a right triangle. We don't have a little square there, so that we don't know. We can't assume that this is a right triangle, so we have to prove that it is. So once again, we're going to look at this and say, okay, the longest side is C, so this is going to be C. 10 is C. 10 is C. A is, again, A and B are interchangeable, right? So A is 6. Here we'll label B as 8, and we'll just do our thing here. 6 squared plus 8 squared, is it equal to, the question is it equal to 10 squared? So A squared once again plus B squared, is it equal to C squared? We'll let you guys solve this, and if you finish early, go ahead and prove and try out number 4. We'll be right back. Okay, so went ahead and solved the first one. For number 3, it is going to be a yes on this one. So the two sides equaled each other. And if you went ahead and solved number 4, you would see that 10, again, is your longest side. So we'll label it C. And I mean, this is a coincidence that both of these have the hypotenuse for both of these questions are both C, or sorry, 10. So don't be thinking that with these you're always going to get the same measurement for the hypotenuse, please. And then you solve for a squared plus b squared, you add them up, get 36 plus 49, and that's equal to 85, not 100. And we want it to be 100, so that's a no on number 4. Okay, so moving right along, today we're going to be looking at solving for the missing side of a triangle and rounding your answers nearest tenths. So we've been doing that as well. So that's one digit after the decimal. And these are all right triangles as indicated by this square here. And that shows that that's a 90-degree angle. However, this time you're given the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse here is given to you, and that's C, right? And what you're missing is one of the legs, because remember that legs are connected by the 90-degree angle. So if we call this A, 8 is A, we're missing B. We don't know what B is. Our B is X. So you have a choice here. You can use X in your equation, or you could just say that I'm missing B and solve for B. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and write our equation again. A squared plus B squared. Just start there. It's going to make it easier for you to just be able to manage this. We know that 10 is our hypotenuse, so we'll square that and put it in the right spot, right? Then A is 8, so we'll write 8 squared here, right? And then B, we don't know what B is. B is our missing side length. So we'll just write B as B squared. We don't know what it is. So we just write it as B squared. We don't know what B is. B is our X, right? So it's kind of like our question mark. You could write X squared if you want. I just think that might be easier to just write B squared to keep things consistent. So we're going to go ahead and solve this, right? And see how to figure out what B is. So 8 times 8 is 64 plus B squared, because we don't know what B is. So we'll just write B squared again is equal to 10 times 10 is 100. Okay. At this point, we're going to utilize our knowledge and use it to solve for B. We know how to solve for a variable, right? We've done this before with X and Y. It's just that B is being squared, so we'll square root at the end, just like when we square root to solve for C. So we're going to subtract 64 from both sides, right? Because we want to isolate our variable, which is B, right? So when we subtract 64, here we get 36, right, is equal to B squared. Is positive 36, right? Because the 100 is the bigger number. Okay. So now we're here, and this is very similar to when we had C squared is equal to a number. Now we have B squared is equal to a number. So you do the same thing. You want to solve for B. That's what we want. We want B by itself. To figure out what B by itself is, we square root B squared. And that cancels out the square, and we get B. So whatever we do on this side, we got to do on this side, right? So 36 square root is 6 times 6 is 36. So B is equal to 6. So here, what we get is 6 as our answer for this length. So the 6 miles. Okay? So that's all you do when you are trying to solve for a leg, instead of it just working out nicely with this. When you were solving for C, everything you just added up and square rooted. This time you have an extra step where you have to subtract whatever number you have on the left by the number by your C squared, which is on the right, and then isolate your variable and then square root. So using the same technique, I would like you to check out number 6 here. You have once again a missing leg. You can call this leg here, I'd like you guys to call it A, so that you know that you can, those two are interchangeable. And this 12, I like you to call it B, which is the 2 legs here. And then of course the hypotenuse, which is C. So here you really need to have a figure drawn for you, because you don't know by just having an X as a variable which one is the largest side. Like the problem number 1 and 2 that we had, we were given all 3 side legs, but here when you're missing a side leg, you really need to have it either indicated to you or the figure drawn for you, so you know which one is the largest side. And we know, because the hypotenuse is also, we know that it's across from the 90-degree angle. So that's important to kind of recognize as well. Go ahead and try to solve for A, and we'll be right back. Okay, as you can see, I have 9 feet for my leg, which is A. And this time we did have B squared. We just labeled this length B. When you subtract the sides, you'll get A squared, square root A squared, and square root 81, and you'll get 9. Okay, so hopefully that was clear. I'd like you guys to go ahead and solve for 7 and 8 on your own, and you'll be able to see the answers in a couple of minutes. Go ahead and solve for 7 and 8. Once again, you are looking at the side lengths. The leg is missing here because it's connected to a 90-degree angle. So you go call this A or B, call this A, call this B, label it A, B, and C, of course, is the longest side. That's your hypotenuse. And once again, these are all triangles that are in different forms and different angles, but they're all showing, especially when you see the 90-degree angle, the legs are connected by a 90-degree angle. So always remember that if you're missing a side length that's connected to the 90-degree angle, you're missing a leg, right? So that's very important. If you call this C and you start solving it by adding these two, the square of these two up, you're not going to get the right answer. So whenever you see your angle and the legs, the side legs are the ones that are the legs because they're connected to the 90-degree angle. And of course, the hypotenuse is the largest side, but the way to figure out and indicate which ones the legs are is that they're connected to the 90-degree angle. Okay, so go ahead and solve for these two, and we'll be right back. Okay, so problem number 7, as you could see, we solved for that, and we got A is equal to 11.6. Well, actually, A squared is a square root of 135. So square root of 135 doesn't come out to be a nice round number. You put in your calculator and you'll get 11.61, and there's other numbers as well. We round it to nearest tenths, and you'll get 11.6. Remember The 1 here is less than 4 or less, right? So you let it rest. So 6 is just stays the same. So 11.6. You don't round it up. On number 8, I use the same variable a for the missing side, and when we solve that, we get a squared is equal to 56 at the end. So square root both sides, and again, does not give you a nice round number. It's 7.48, and there's other numbers afterwards, so as this one as well. And to round that one, because 8 is 5 or more, we have to up the score. Remember the little jingle that we learned. 7.5 will be our rounded number. This sign here, that's not quite an equal sign. It's like, 2 lines like this. That means it's an approximation. So we're rounding. Approximately 7.4 is the answer here. So go ahead and do some more practice problems, and thank you for listening. Have a great day.